I have a feeling that episode 4 of Trigun Stampede is probably going to be the most divisive episode of this entire series so far. I mean, yes, episode 1 was huge because, yes, you had a lot of people that were old-time fans versus new-time fans and this constant battle of CGI versus 2D. But I think for episode 4, it's going to be all about character. I don't know, I haven't even looked at the response to this episode, but I just have a feeling there's going to be a lot of people either okay or angry with how, yes, Nicholas was portrayed in this episode. I don't know. Again, I'm very vague on my memories of the old series, but Nicholas pretty much turned into... I always remember him as like a dandy character, like just very smooth and everything. And I feel like they pretty much just turned him into a Yakuza character. I mean, probably give it credit to the Seiyu, which I think the Seiyu is amazing. I love that Seiyu, but dang, it just do the draw and everything. Just be a Yakuza character. You're a cross-carrying Yakuza character. I don't know. I'm okay with it, but again, I'm coming at it from a perspective of somebody that's like, leave that there. They've already kind of established this is completely original, so just leave that there. Don't worry about it. This is a new series. I'll still complain that Millie's not here, and Millie not being here is even more heartbreaking now because Nicholas is here. And honestly, Nicholas was my favorite character back in the day. Even though, again, I don't remember much about it. I just remember loving this guy that was walking around this big, huge cross, and he'd sling it over his shoulder and just decimate stuff. But that was kind of like why I liked Millie. Millie would just pull out this big, huge Gatling and just start plowing things down, which made them a great little couple. So not having Millie here now really hurts me more. Like the entire episode, that's all I can think of. And I think people are sick of hearing me talk about Millie not being here by this point, but they were a great couple. Like the two of them, like I started to, when this episode was going, I kept remembering about that couple that they had. Like the whole scene with them walking together and Millie covering up that one girl and everybody thinking that she's pregnant. It was super cute. And they're calling each other darling and honey. It was just a really great scene. And yeah, we're probably not going to have any of that, and that breaks my heart at this point because that was such a memorable moment of that series. And again, vantage point of somebody leaving that behind, even though he's quite different, and I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be upset about that. I still like him. Like Nicholas, I still like him. He's got that rogue. Yes, who is he? Is he an ally? No, he's obviously shady. Obviously, he's there to take out Vash or do something to Vash. So when will the big reveal happen? Roberto's already pretty much saying, hey, everybody, be aware that he's a bad guy. Roberto here just spewing out spoilers. We're not allowed to think that Nicholas might just be some rando they ran into. No, we got to immediately have Roberto go, everybody start questioning this guy. Which is interesting. I was kind of curious as to what happened to Roberto in this episode. He just kind of disappeared. I'm already getting some feelings that Roberto eventually is going to be like working for Knives or something. He's going to be a part of some bad group. He's going to double cross everybody at some point. And again, I think that didn't really come to my mind until this episode. Just having him randomly disappear, which, yes, you can assume is the worm. Like the worm grabbed Meryl. You assume that it grabbed Roberto while Nicholas and Vash were talking, and Vash was trying to insinuate, you're a good person. Oh, he thinks I'm a good person. That's going to change my heart suddenly. It's a trope. I'm sorry. But no, anyway, Roberto disappears and then he just reappears. It's like, okay, that happened. This episode kind of had that pacing issue where suddenly everybody's disappearing and then, oh, everybody's back at the end. All right. I guess they climbed out of the corpse. I don't know. But no, I'm getting ahead of myself. Yes, the introduction of Nicholas was pretty solid. Having them run into him, pretty much establish him as pretty much a con man at the very beginning. He's basically doing a funeral and doesn't even know what he's doing. But then he'll still yet charge everybody for the work that he did, even though nobody's technically related to the people that died. And it's so funny because I almost want to make a comment about how it's really cute that he goes over this kid and gives the kid a sucker and talks about, sins that you carry, but you can still be happy, but yet he was just acting there, so it doesn't matter. But his acting is kind of his trademark, and he's going to be basically carrying that over to Vash as well. Interesting theory based on my very vague memories of the old series. I don't remember Nicholas having some sort of slogan. And obviously, having said the same thing twice in one episode, it's a slogan for him. The sins that you carry doesn't mean that you're not allowed to be happy. No matter how many crosses you carry or sin that you carry, you deserve to smile. You deserve to laugh. And he says the same thing to Vash. So that's going to be his slogan. And I seem to remember that was kind of a mindset of Millie as well. She was always positive no matter how negative things were. So I'm wondering if they're almost trying to merge Millie with Nicholas in a way. And maybe at some point have him, not that he's bubbly and goofy, because obviously we've already established he's not going to be bubbly and goofy. We're going straight to serious Nicholas. But more in the idea that he kind of retains the mindset that she has. Even though, yes, he is technically doing it to persuade and trick people, it's still technically a slogan that he might, in the end, be his big punchline. But we'll see. Obviously, again, he's technically trying to trick everybody because he's obviously after Vash. And yes, he used Zazie the Beast, who's controlling these worms, to do that. I do always get a kick out of the character that nicknames people. So, I don't get the needle noggin thing. I guess you could have the whole thing of his hair, but yeah, Little Miss and Uncle Downer. I think Uncle Downer was the best one. Uncle Downer. Honestly, besides the introduction of Nicholas, I think the meat and potatoes of this episode is really the back and forth between Vash and Nicholas. Nicholas being the secret assassin, and Vash being obviously the I have to save everybody. Nicholas pushing to Vash the idea of self-preservation and taking care of yourself, numero uno, and Vash always seeing the positive in everything and wanting to help others. The selfless person. Honestly, I kind of slightly remember Zazie, but I don't remember what was so special about them. Like, why are they able to control the worms? Are they, I don't know, like beast people that were raised by monsters and thus they communicate with the monsters? Or is it some sort of genetic thing? Maybe a byproduct of the first arrival of the humans? So I'll be curious if they'll actually get more into that with this series, this rendition of it, because obviously it seems like it's somebody that's working closely with Nicholas. I do remember them both being from the same group. Finally, the final scene was a bit of a question mark because we had the doctor talking to Knives, because I did mention that Vash did manifest his gate. So that was my question mark at the previous episode. This is kind of one of those aspects that I don't remember if it was even in the original anime adaptation, nor would I remember it. This idea that Knives tells Vash that you don't even know how to control your gate. And I assume that Knives opened a gate. That's why he was in some different area. But it seems to imply that they did see Vash's gate, but it wasn't opening. And this is a gate that accesses a higher dimension. He claimed that because anime... because shonen, because because of his morals and his ethics, because he's basically become human, it's locked. Can't open it. So Knives will probably have to just destroy it. Pry it open or destroy him altogether. And it goes back to my theory before, whereas I think they're trying to push this stuff very quickly because they want to establish the characters and get this moving because they possibly have some thoughts about what they're going to do with this. I do have to admit, I've been pretty much talking about the CGI and my thoughts on it each episode, and I have to say this episode, while Nicholas was pretty awesome, even though it half the time looked like he was a character in an opening of a Guilty Gear game. Like when he actually first started using the gun and he started like lasering everything, when he was kind of spinning it around himself, he literally looked like he was in an intro for Guilty Gear. So mark my words, I believe Nicholas will end up in Guilty Gear. I literally think that was pulled from the game. It even had that kind of framiness to it, which honestly most of the series hasn't been that framey. That felt very framey. So it makes me believe that, again, that looked like a Guilty Gear animation. So if he ends up in the game, I want big praise. I want everybody to say that Andrew called it. But no, I do have to admit, when the worm first consumes the gas station, it looked a little funky. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. Like the whole mouth opening up and you see the sand like moving like crazy, but this building just sits there. Like it's not being affected by any of this movement. And then when they actually go down underneath, they have this little funny little shot of everybody falling towards the camera, which I thought was great. But then suddenly they realize that the building is like, first let's establish how did they get out of the building and then fall through first when they're less weight than the actual building. But then the building comes down after them and it's all still whole. Like again, this whole thing's been moving and this building is just like solid, and so it comes down all perfectly. It was just like, that doesn't make any sense. Like little physics question mark there, but whatever, it's just funny to think about. It doesn't really matter. Anyways, that's my thoughts on episode 4 of Trigun Stampede. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment. I want to hear from you guys. Are you an old-time fan? Did you get angry at Nicholas, or are you happy? I know he's different, but I really did like his introduction, and I guess it's because the Seiyu. I think the Seiyu kind of softens the blow for me. Better question, what do you think of the existence of Nicholas without Millie? I swear, I just have this thought process of what if like in episode 8 suddenly Millie shows up and it just blows up the internet. It would be so crazy. Watch, they're waiting for that. That's gonna be their plan. They're just gonna pop her out of nowhere and it's gonna be like, holy crap, here she is. But again, the chemistry's not established. If you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, we have a Patreon link and a super thanks button down below. I greatly appreciate everybody does. And y'all take care.